haven't read it yet. Our format tonight is a Q&A with Rodney. No charts or graphs about bird populations or anything else tonight. So I'm going to start with some basic questions to help let Rodney tell his story as background. And then all of you should put your questions in the chat. And we will get to those after this the initial questions. I know all of us really want to know about Rodney's Raptors and their behavior and what it means to be a master falconer. But first, let's get some background. So Rodney, first of all, welcome.
Thank you, ma'am.
Can you start by telling us a little bit about your life in DC before you got involved with Raptors and how you got involved with conservation?
Actually, when I was in DC, before I got involved with conservation, I just used to hustle. And what happened was you don't get a W-2, when you sell drugs. So I started working with a program, Earth Conservation Corps, and we started doing environmental work. Lower Beaver Dam Creek took out 5,000 tires, car engines, motorcycles, you name it. So we ended up starting to bring back the bald eagles. So the bald eagles that you see in DC now, we're the reason that they're back. So from 93 to 97, we had 16 baby bald eagles, and we released 4 each year, put tracking devices on them, did a lot of work on the Anacostia, which made the Anacostia now able to sustain eagle life again. So they started coming back, nesting along the Anacostia, out through the Chesapeake into the Potomac. I actually became a falconer because all of the birds that we had were injured, non-releasable birds. All of the people that we worked with were adjudicated youth. And so when I asked them, why can't we get birds that are not injured so that we can work with young people before they get locked up? They said, you had to become a falconer. I said, okay. And everybody laughed. Black falconer wasn't something that was said 14 years ago, I guess. Well, within 30 days after that conversion, I was a falconer. So that's really how I got into falconry. I love animals, period. But falconry, that's how I got into falconry.
So what appealed to you about birds, raptors, and falconry specifically? You said you love animals.
Necessarily, like I said, it wasn't necessarily falconry. I was working with birds of prey regardless. They were injured. Falconers just have the permits to possess, trap, train, and hunt birds of prey. So when I asked them, how come we couldn't get non-injured birds, we weren't falconers. So I became a falconer. Now I can take a bird before it becomes injured. 90% of these birds won't make it through their first winter. Just like 90% of young people don't make it to 18 without a criminal record. Mm-hmm. So why not be able to step in and help the young person like you stepped in and help that bird? That's the whole thing. It wasn't nothing about hunting the bird or, I want to see him kill this or anything like that. It was the fact that the people told me in order to help people that I wanted to help, I had to become a falconer. I said, okay. And that's what happened.
Who told you that, Rodney?
Department of Fish and Wildlife and Robert Nixon at the time, who was executive director at the program that we were at.
Right. And how long had you been doing the conservation work on the Anacostia River before you got this idea?
About 15 years or so, maybe. We started April 24th of 92. I became a falconer in 2009 or 2010, something like that.
Oh,
so I've been on the Anacostia on and off for 33 years.
And where is that in relation to where you're living now? How far?
It's actually about 4 hours away from where I am now.
Right.
Where I am now is in Charlotte Courthouse, Virginia. Before my mom passed, she used to always say she wanted a house where all of her kids would always have a place to call home. Well, she passed away about 9 years ago now, and I was able to get the home a couple years after she passed. So that's why it's named after her. It's Dippy's Dream. It's an actual human sanctuary with animals. So it's not an animal sanctuary. There's 17 chickens, duck, 20 rabbits, goats, horses, dogs, you name it. However, it's not an animal sanctuary. It's a human sanctuary. It's a place where you can come and get away from all that violence, all that noise, all that pollution, where you can really get back to nature, to get up in the morning and do really earth. Take your shoes and socks off and feel Mother Earth underneath your feet. And it just takes you to a whole different place. The quiet, you're not hearing police cars up and down the street and ambulances, and you go to the store and there's not 75 people in front of the store, and you got to go through this nonsense to even get in the store or stuff like. It's just a place you can come and sit in a hammock and just swing in a hammock for hours and lose yourself.
And at the end of the book, you were just beginning to restore and build Dippy's Dream, the property. Where are you now with it? Are you still in the process of doing that?
Oh, no, ma'am. Actually, I've had people to come and stay and camp out with the horses and everything. You can actually do that. Now, it's always going to be a work in progress because there's always something else that you'll end up doing. And one of the things that I'm transitioning to with the program is dealing with death, hospice, things of that nature. My youngest brother, he was 46. He came to live with me last year, and he actually passed in September. So he got to sit out here before he passed with the animals, and I saw what it really did for him. The life it gave him before his illness took him was tremendous because of the animals. So that's one of the things that I'm leaning more towards doing now. Like when people come out, because I understand you're going to implode or explode if you don't get it all. And so here's the place that you can come, and if you're angry at the world, come chop down a tree. And when you finish, we'll use that tree and build something out of it, build a cabin or another pen for the animals or something. So out of your destruction, you built something beautiful.
And how do people find their way to Dippy's Dream? Are you working with specific groups, or?
I work with anyone that contacts me, that sees me online or anything that just says, I want to get away for a week. They'll call and say, hey, Rodney, I want to come down for a week. And see, everything is donation based. There's no set price for it. Because you can't afford something doesn't mean you don't deserve it. You can get up every morning, you feed the homeless, you teach the literacy, you do all these things, but you don't have $1,000 to learn how to ride a horse. Did that mean you didn't deserve it? No, it just means you couldn't afford it. But you had $26 in your pocket and you got here. Guess what you learn how to do? You learn how to walk, trot, and canter on a horse the same way anybody else that had $50,000 in their pocket. It's not about the money. It's about the life experiences. What we fail to realize is all we're doing is renting everything for somebody else later. You can't take any of this stuff with you. So if you can help someone else and make their life even a little bit better, and it didn't hurt you at all, why wouldn't you? So that's why if a person had 26 cents in their pocket, you will get the same experience as a person who had $26,000 in their pocket. Doesn't matter. But my thing is, if you're a person that don't want to help someone else, don't come here. I really don't want you here. It's all about loving each other, the next person. None of these animals care if you're white, black, Puerto Rican, Hispanic, gay, straight, Republican. They don't care about any of that. You know what they care about? Do you love me? Will you take care of me? That's it. So that's the same attitude you have when you cross that street into 2664 Evergreen Road. Do you love me? Will you be there? That's all it's about.
And do you have raptors on the property? Are you still working with raptors?
Oh, I have 1, 2, 3 raptors To my left right now, one I had to put in a room because he kept jumping around in the cage because they're desert birds, they're Harris hawks. And because it's about to be about 6 degrees overnight, their feet, they can actually get frostbite. So I brought them in to make sure that that doesn't happen.
So you have 3 Harris's hawks. Is that your whole collection right now?
No, ma'am, there's 3 Harris hawks to my left. There's another
Yep.
Harris hawk in the bedroom, and my Eurasian eagle owl, he's outside. This is his weather, so he loves this.
I'm sorry, which one's outside?
A Eurasian eagle owl.
Oh, your Eurasian eagle owl, right. Rodney, could you take your hands down? I think some people can't see. Okay, thank you. Okay, so, I mean, we're at Raptors. I know everyone wants to hear the Raptor story. So why don't we start with, we do have questions about what it took to become a falconer. And then I think people, I'll read some of these questions in the chat, but I think people would like to know your experience and your bonds with the birds. So I guess we want to start, maybe one question was how long it took to become a master falconer.
Well, each state is a little different. In Maryland, it took 7 years. You're an apprentice for 2 years. You're a general falconer for 5 years, and then you become a master after 7.
That's a long time. Do you want to explain?
You
I
spend
know
just as much time as a doctor.
Oh, that's amazing, isn't it? If you think about it that way. It's in your book, but for those who haven't read the book, you want to explain how, had you first have to build your aviary and sort of the basic steps that it requires?
Sure. You have to have a 3rd-year general or master falconer to sponsor you. Once you have a sponsor, you'll go to Fish and Wildlife and you'll take a test. You pass that test, then you have to build an aviary, which is the house that your bird will live in. The Fish and Wildlife would then come out and inspect that aviary and make sure that it meets all the qualifications where that bird won't get injured in that aviary. Once they pass your aviary, your sponsor will then take you out. You'll trap a wild bird for that. During that wintertime, you'll trap that wild bird. You'll have to build a bond with that bird to sit on your glove, to bend his head down and eat, to hop to your fist, to fly to a glove, to fly 10 yards. And once you get him flying to the glove, if he'll fly 10 yards, he'll fly 100 yards. So you have to build that bond with them because some birds will actually starve themselves because they don't trust us. So for them to bend their head down, they're vulnerable. It gives the back of their neck. So they won't do it and they won't eat. And so you have to figure out a way to get that bird to eat. And if you can't, you have to feed it up in a room somewhere and then let it go because you're eventually going to kill that bird. Not every bird you can train. So you have to put your ego to the side when that time comes and you see that too many days are going by and this bird hasn't eaten, feed it up and let it go.
Have you had to do that?
Yes.
How many?
Yes,
more than once?
Twice.
Twice. Was that heartbreaking?
Well, the thing with it, you worry about the bird because you had to feed it up and let it go. You can't let its body weight get too low because then the bird is actually eating off of its body and now you're going to make the bird even sicker. So you had to feed the bird up. You don't want to feed them up and then try it all over again because you're wasting too much time. So you'll let that bird go and you have to just trap a new bird and continue on. It's painful because you always going to worry and wonder, did that bird make it?
There was a question from before, I don't know if it's also in the chat, but some of my board members also gave me questions and you talked about having a mentor. One of the questions was, how did your mentor, Suzanne, help you? What did she do?
Actually, when I was looking for a sponsor, no one wanted to sponsor me because I'm Black. So everyone that I was calling, I had an easier time getting a loan from a bank than finding a sponsor for real. So Suzanne was one that was working with Raptors with our Raptors, she was taking care of them, making sure doing the vet checks and stuff like that. When her and I talked, she said, Rodney, I'll sponsor you. You've been doing this for years. You know what you're doing, this, that, and the other thing. And from that point on, I went to her house. I went over the book with her. She said, you're ready. I called the people, scheduled the test, went and took the test. And she was the first person that I called when I left there and told her I passed it. She said, I know. And that was it. So she's like another mother to me. She's been there before the falconry ever came about. We've always been close from the first time I met her.
I was going to say, how did you meet her?
Working through Earth Conservation.
Oh, Earth Conservation Corps. Mm-hmm.
She's a master falconer plus rehabber. So a lot of the birds that we have are injured birds that she specializes in.
So I'm sure people want to hear a lot more about your relationship with your birds. Can you talk a little bit about that? I don't know if you've had favorites. Anything about your no favorites?
I love all of my animals exactly the same. From every rabbit, goat, dog, horse, chicken, duck, birds, they all serve a certain purpose. Each one of them do something at a time that when something was going on in my life, each one of them stepped in and made sure I was okay. Where a person couldn't do anything, my animals did. The one you hear purring behind me, that's Agnes. She's actually named after Agnes Nixon, the lady who used to write One Life to Live and All My Children. She bought me that bird about maybe 9 years ago, 10 years ago. She actually passed away about 4 years ago. So anytime I miss her or thinking about her, especially in the wintertime, I can take that bird and throw it up. The first thing when we pass, everybody says they're up there looking down on us. Okay, well, where's the bird? Up there doing what? Looking down on us. So you're never alone. You die twice. The first time is when you die, literally. The second time is the last time someone mentions your name. So if my animals are named after my loved ones, they are always being, they're never gone. The
Beautiful
physical
thought.
may be, the spiritual energy that always stays.
You mentioned Agnes Nixon, and I want you to tell who she is and how you met her. It's a great story. But what species of bird is Agnes?
Harris hawk.
Oh, this is a Harris hawk. Okay. You want to tell your Agnes Nixon story? It's a fabulous story.
A guy named Anthony and I had gotten into an altercation on a Friday, and threats were made to end each other's existence. So Bob came and took me to my house. He said, you're going with me this weekend. I said, why? So when we went to my house and went upstairs, he walked in and there was a box sitting in my living room floor with about 15 guns in it. And I said, I'm going to kill Anthony over this weekend. I promise you he won't be here Monday. So we get in the car. We end up going to Philadelphia to a book signing of one of his friends at first. We get to his mother's house and we walk in. And the first thing she said to me is, hello, I hope you left all your artillery outside in the car. And we just bust out laughing. And from that moment on, that lady and I was inseparable, basically. She woke up. She was in a coma. She had passed out and went into a coma. She had woke up from her coma. Her son and 2 daughters was there. She made everybody call me because she kept saying, where's my son? Where's my son? And they kept saying, he's right here. She said, no, Rodney. So they called me so I can talk to her. She made the entire hospital watch my documentary, Life of a Black Falconer at the time. This lady, her and I was just the greatest.
And again, she was a writer for soap operas, yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes,
so it's quite a story, just one of these amazing connections. Let's see, I have some, a lot of, is there a difference in the way you train falcons versus hawks and owls?
Yes, yes. Falcons primarily catch their food in the air. You never really see a falcon. A falcon doesn't land on something watches the food, and then goes after it. Falcons catch the majority of their food in the air. Their talons are actually made differently because of the food that they hunt. Hawks usually set on a perch or something, watches it, judges, then takes off and goes after it. Occasionally, it'll go for something from straight out of the air, but mostly hawks will sit. With a falcon, you'll train them to a lure because they 95% of their diet is birds. They're more, as you spin that lure, it's like a bird flying, so they'll stoop. Hawks usually don't. So with a falcon, you can spin a lure, sling it out. A falcon will go after it. You can snatch it down just before he gets it. A falcon will go up, fly in circles, come back again. Hawks won't do that. Hawks will go straight after the food. If they miss it, they'll go land on another perch or something, turn around and try to judge it again. So even training them, you would train a falcon with a lure and then to the glove. You'll train a hawk to the glove and then to a lure.
And is that something you learned from your book, or how did you learn that?
I mean, everything pretty much you're going to get out and learn on your own. Someone can be there telling you certain things, but each individual bird is different. All of them have their own personalities. Everyone would do something differently. So you have to adapt whatever it is that someone is telling you to work for that particular situation and that bird. So 9 times out of 10, when you're first dealing with a falcon, if you have the wings of a bird or something, and you have that on the lure, you're setting with the falcon and you'll whistle for him and you won't move it. You'll let the falcon get it. The next time you do it, you'll just swing it back a little bit and let the falcon fly straight to it. The next time when you do it, you'll move it out the way a little bit so the falcon has to go past it and make a small turn to come right back to get it. Now you know that you'll have your falcon stooping, turning around. You'll keep going with it, and now you can make them stoop 3, 4, 5 times. But you always must remember to reward that bird, because if you keep making them do something and there's no reward or too small of a reward, that bird is going to fly off and leave you.
And what's your reward? I'm sure it's food, but different for different
mice, snake, squirrel, rabbit, duck, chicken, whatever you have in your glove. Yes, ma'am.
We do have one question here. I have a lot of questions, so I'm trying to sort through them. Will a hawk hunt prairie voles, or are they too small?
Well, depending on the hawk, you have certain hawks that are huge that only hunt small rodents. You have red tails that will hunt basically anything, pretty much, so it all depends on the hawk and where they are. So if the hawks are in that area and that's a primary food source, they're going to hunt it.
Okay. So can you, before we move on, can you give us a list of the species that you've trained?
Oh, God. Kestrels, screech owls, Eurasian eagle owls, barn owls, red shoulders, red tail, Cooper's hawk, sharp shin, gerfalcon.
Ooh. Harris's hawk, you think you forgot Harris's?
Yeah, Harris's, I have them. It's something else.
You had that barn owl, remember?
Right, I said the barn owl.
Okay.
There's another one. I can't remember what that bird was.
That was an amazing
Lanner
list.
falcons. Lanner falcons. I had lanners.
What kind of?
Lanner, Lanner.
Oh, I don't know that.
Yeah.
Is that a US?
No.
No, yeah, that's why we don't know it. Okay. Wanda asked, which raptor species is the most challenging to train?
Well, owls, after they become about 2 or 3 years old. Usually when an owl, after that amount of time, owls are real stubborn. So usually to me, an owl. For the most part, all of them are food driven. If you can wait it out and get them to eat, if you can get them eating regardless of what it is, you'll be okay. But the only thing is, like with Cooper's hawks, you catch a Cooper's hawk late in the season, let it go. Every falconer I've ever known, including myself, that caught a Cooper's hawk late, a Cooper's hawk will fly to you 100 times perfectly. The 101st time is going to come after you. A late season Cooper's hawk, for whatever reason, seemed to go at a person sometime during that training or during that flight.
So you don't mean if you catch it late in the season, let it go. You mean once you've gone through the season, at the end of the season, goodbye.
No, say trapping season. Well, before trapping season used to start September the 10th to January the 14th is the time that you had to trap a bird.
Okay.
So if you caught a Cooper's hawk September the 10th through maybe the 13th, you would have kept that bird.
Right.
Anytime late September, early October, let that bird go. Yeah.
Oh, so you mean
Yeah.
really almost at the beginning of the, not very far into the season. Interesting.
Yes.
Is
Yeah.
there a species that you seem to connect to fastest or that you can train faster than others?
Harris hawks, really, because they are the most social bird. They're only species that hunt together, work together, sharing the kill, everything. So they are a pack-oriented bird. So that bird wants to be with you and be around you and include you into the pack so that y'all hunt together and work together. So those are birds that usually are the easiest ones and very hard for you to lose that bird because they'll stay with you.
And how long would you keep a particular bird? More than one season?
Well, you can, I don't. The reason why is because if you keep that bird, say 2-3 seasons, that's another 2 or 3 birds that you didn't trap, that you didn't help because you held on to that one. So my thing is always to, once you made it through that first winter, that bird now has a 90% chance of survival and reproducing. Let that bird go and give another bird a chance. It's the same way like we do with the programs and stuff. When people donate and everything, we get one thing situated and then we start another program. We'll start something else. Do a healing with hawks and horses. So we have a guy that does horses. I have horses. We have a guy that comes out and trains. And we teach young people how to walk around on horseback with a hawk on your glove. You know, things that we always try to invent something dealing with the animals because we know what it does for us emotionally.
I want to get to that training. We have a bunch of
I'm
questions.
sorry, let me get her.
Oh, yeah.
Come here.
Oh, boy. And who is this one?
This is Agnes, actually.
This is Agnes. Oh, she's beautiful. Yeah, I was just in Texas in November and saw some Harris's hawks. They're so gorgeous. We do have questions about the people you've helped. I just wanted to go back to one thing.
Yes, ma'am.
You mentioned that many of these birds don't survive more than 1 year. And how do you help them? By teaching them to hunt? What is the,
No.
what is?
Falconers do not teach birds how to hunt. What we actually do is ask the bird to allow us to help it along with the hunt. When you trap a bird, it was actually hunting. That's how you caught it. But what happens is a lot of the birds you'll see along the roadways in the wintertime because food is scarce. So they'll wait for something to get hit by a car and then try to fly down and get it. In the process, they get hit by cars. Farmers throw out poisons to kill the mice in their fields. Well, the bird eats the mouse, the bird dies because of the poison that the mouse had. Where if the farmer had just let the bird do what it did, you wouldn't have that issue. So that's what it is. We do not teach the raptors to hunt. We ask them to partner with them in the hunt to help them with the hunt. So the same way, if I wanted to eat and that we had no food, I take my bird, we catch a rabbit, we eat. I now have food because of my bird, and I'm going to make sure my bird eats, so my bird understands we work together. This is our pack.
So you're helping them get food that without going into a road, you're helping them.
No, what you're actually doing when you get the bird, and just like this, when you first say she was a wild bird I just caught, you got her to sit on the glove, you got her to start eating from the glove, you got her to start working with you to go on hunts, because you're going to hunt that bird because you want the bird to remain what it is. The difference is that bird is not taking as many risks every day trying to find food, because you're feeding it as you bring the weight down, as you're bonding with the bird. Now, when you take the bird out on a hunt, the bird now kills a squirrel, a rabbit or something, brings it down to the ground. Now you reward the bird, you take the bird back. The bird is now eating that food that it caught. So you're not just giving it food and pampering it. No, man,
Right.
you're
Right.
training that bird to work with you to go out on a hunt. And then you're feeding the bird the food that, if you don't catch anything, you still reward the bird.
I see. Is Agnes banded?
Yeah, she's a captive bred, so she has a band on.
Oh, she's beautiful.
Yeah.
She's gorgeous.
I know.
Okay, I want to get to lots of questions here. Can you share any story of any of the people who've been helped by Dippy's dream? Someone whose life was transformed, changed, put them on the right path? No names,
Yeah.
of course, but just.
Well, I'll say this. I can't say that their life was changed or what path they was on, and it was because of this. I can just say that after leaving here, experiencing what they experienced, it made them decide to do certain things. Because if you don't want to do it, if you don't want to change, I don't care if you come here 1,000 times, you're not going to do anything. It's all about inner. What do you want to do? Are you allowing yourself to be happy? Because a lot of us won't, for whatever reason. So it's more about that time of getting away, being able to clear your mind, being able to hear the crickets in the morning and the birds singing and the frogs, and just that clarity of getting away from everything. I think that helped more than anything that I can point and say, this person now, stop selling drugs or stop doing this or stop doing it. Because to me, each one of those things they did, I had nothing to do with. You did that. I didn't come to your house every day and get you up. I didn't stand over you. You made that conscious decision to get up every single day and make yourself better. So I don't want to take credit for something that you actually did. I just never was that type of person. I never felt that I deserved that credit, because you made those choices. You did it. You set your alarm. You got up. You stood out there in the rain. You stood out there in the cold. You got kicked down and beat down every day, but you kept getting up fighting. That wasn't because of me. That was because of you. So if I helped you find something in you, blessings. But you did it.
So without taking credit, have some of these people communicated with you after they leave you and told you what changed, or they decided to go get a job, or anything like that?
There's a young man named Harless, who I actually call my nephew. My nephew was a part of the program years ago. This was one of his best friends. He saw the way that me and my nephew was, and he came to me one day and he said, can you be my uncle? I said, listen, this job is one thing, but family is something all entirely different. So understand what you're asking me. He said, I totally understand. To this day, if you talk to this young man, he will tell you every single thing I've ever told him about when he had his first child, what he was going to go through, every single thing. We laugh about, because verbatim, I told him what he was going to say, what his baby mother was going to say, the whole thing. We talk regularly. He texted me on my birthday the other day on the 11th to tell me happy birthday, this, that, and the other thing. I miss you, love you so much because I moved down here now. We don't see each other as much. However, this is one young man that I love him as if one of my sisters gave birth to him. He's just that important to me. So that's the one person who he'll tell you that I did these things for him. I would never tell you that.
Interesting. I just have one comment. This is from Stacy. She says, so many of us in the audience take for granted the peace of nature. We have to remember that not everyone has that privilege in their surroundings. Thank you for bringing people and nature together. Let's see, more questions. Is there a problem turning a bird loose after it's gotten used to being with you?
No, actually, it's not that the bird really got used to being with. That's why you're not feeding it, constantly on the glove, giving it, because you don't want the bird to depend on you. So when you release a bird, when you go on that last hunt, you go out, you'll take the anklets and jets off, you'll let the bird make the kill, you go get in your car and leave. When that bird finishes, because the last few months, the bird was used to you guys doing something together, it's looking for you, you're not there, it's gonna eat. Now, once it's done, it's gonna fly off. Even some people may say, well, it's looking for you. Okay, it's looking for you. Well, after a week, it didn't find you. During that week, it hunted again on its own without you. That's now a wild bird again. So when you see it, just say you painted one nail for the sake of arguments and you saw that bird and you put a glove on and you held your hand out, that bird should never fly back to you again. And that's exactly what you want. So you're not making it where the bird is depending on people. You're, like I said, you're working, it's a partnership. And at the end of that partnership, now you can survive on your own. I don't want to hold you back anymore. It's more painful for you to let the bird go than anything because you love that animal.
Yeah, that was the question. That's what I would imagine. I would imagine.
Yes. Oh, definitely. Oh, I'm sorry, I misunderstood. Oh no, for me,
yeah,
every bird, even a bird, if I trap a bird now, what I usually would do, if the bird is an adult, I will go on social media and I'll let everyone know I trapped an adult red tail. I'm going to release it at 6 o'clock this evening. So anybody who has a name of a loved one that passed or sick or that you just want to send a prayer to, send me their name now. So by 5:45, I will go on and write down all of the names of the people whoever someone sent. At 6 o'clock, I will go out, say a prayer, read off every one of those names, and then release that bird. And now I will video it so that the people can see their loved one's name being released with that bird. And you'll have the people sending the emojis of them crying and thanking you and saying how much it meant to them. But to you, it's just what you do. You had to release the bird. So why not
that's
name
a beautiful
people's names and send them up on the prayer?
Beautiful policy. That's wonderful.
We all say, I can't do anything. Yes, you can. The little that you do, if every one of us did a little, do you know that adds up to be a lot? But if every one of us keeps saying, oh, I can't do this, I'm just, then it'll never go anywhere. It'll never work. So my thing is, someone asks me, well, what are you doing? You talk about, what are you doing? So this is what I'm doing. So my question to everybody else is, what are you doing?
Right. What, how old is Agnes?
Agnes is about 11 now. Get up here. Get
Beautiful.
off me.
What, when people come to Dippy's Dream, what is their interaction with the birds? You have so many animals, but what do people work with the birds? They watch you release them.
We can do whatever you want to do. We can, if it's time that the birds say, like now in wintertime, the birds' weights are dropped down so that they can fly and hunt, then we can walk the 7 acres and hunt the bird. We can throw them up and let the bird follow us around. If the bird is a a feeding time or something, we can put a creance cord on the bird so the bird can't go anywhere. You can stand there with a glove and whistle for the bird and let the bird fly to you. You can go do a cookout, cook your food, go sit down and put the bird right beside you, perch down beside, whatever you want to do. It's pretty much, on my front door it says animal house, which means anything on two-legged human, I don't care what you do to. But the moment any animal, even from a goldfish, respect that. It's that simple. So as long as my animals don't get hurt, we can do whatever you want to do. If you want to sit down, you want to get in a hammock, and you want the hawk perched up over it, and he's tethered down so it can always pull itself right back up, put the hammock up, put the bird beside you. It's basically whatever you want to do, as long as it brings no harm to my animals.
Do most of the people who come to Dippy's Dream want to interact with the birds, or it's a little bit of everything?
Everything. And when they camp out, they camp in where the horses are. So at 3 o'clock in the morning, you can get up, walk out your tent, and there's a horse standing there that you can give parrots to, or you can whistle for them and clap your hands, and the horse will walk right up to you. Everything down here pretty much is been around people, been social, so you don't have to worry about anything.
Where do you get, I want to get back to other questions, but so you're helping all these people. Where is your funding? Because they don't have to pay. We're giving you a little bit by being on tonight, but where do you get your money?
Just like you said, from people just like you guys. I do shows, birthday parties, weddings, funerals, bar mitzvahs, you name it. And people donate because they know when they look back. A lot of people who donate now will tell me, I seen you 10 years ago and you're still doing this. I seen you 20 years ago and you're still doing this. And I can explain to them, there's nothing else that I can be doing that would make me happy. I'm not a people person. I love animals. However, I know it makes me happy when I see somebody else happy, because we all have enough stuff right now that if we concentrated on, we'd all bust out crying. We all have something personal that we go through every day, that we suffer with every day. Some of us depressed and, don't have a way to express it. All of these things, because no one knows what really goes on in someone else's mind and heart. But if you know you can be a blessing, why not? It didn't hurt you. I told some people one time, you go out to a restaurant twice a week. Well, what if you skip that twice, 1 week, and donate it to something that helps somebody else? You didn't starve. You had food at the house. You just decided to go spend $300 at a restaurant to be seen. That's it. So why not make somebody else's life a little better if it didn't hurt you at all? I've never asked anybody to put yourself in a hole or in harm's way or anything like that. But if you got something from being able to experience with the birds and why not give that to someone else? If you can sit there and tell me, oh my God, this is so beautiful, so why wouldn't you want to share that with someone else? Makes no sense.
With your background, how did you learn that? You had quite a journey, Rodney. How did you learn that?
Through all the deaths, actually. If you guys look behind me, there's my brother, my oldest brother, my mother, my son, my aunt. We just had a death 2 days ago. When people say here today, gone tomorrow, I don't understand that. I understand here today, gone 5 minutes from now. So why, if you love so much and all this we talk, show it. Why? I can tell you anything to make you feel good and then treat you a certain way and make you feel worse. So why wouldn't I show you that I love you? I don't have to know. I posted the other day, I don't have to know you to love you. Just knowing that you exist makes me love you. That's it.
The wonderful,
To
wonderful
be loved for
quality.
being just who you are. Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Okay, so I know we don't have too much more time, so I'm going to try to get through some of these questions. Is there a raptor you haven't worked with that you hope to someday?
No, actually, because when I went to the American Eagle Foundation up in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, I got to work with Andean condors, golden eagles. When I was in New York, I got to work with an African crown eagle. So pretty much all the birds that I
Wow,
ever wanted to work with, I got a chance to work with.
fabulous. Have you ever been hurt while working with your birds?
I'm sorry I didn't hear that part.
You're frozen. Oh, I'm sorry. Have you ever been hurt while working with your birds?
Oh, yes, yes, yes. I had a red-tailed hawk. Her name was Sky. She actually sent the talent in through my middle finger, came out the side and into the third finger and out during a presentation. And she got so used to, as you take a mouse out of the bag and throw it to the other glove, you see how she just looked down looking for food? They thought it was food coming. So she tried to steal it before it get out your hand. But there was no food in my hand. I was just talking and my hand was moving. And she grabbed my hand in the middle of a presentation. And so I tilted a bag over where the mice fell out. So she let me go to get to the mice. And a lady asked me, doesn't that hurt? I said, yes, ma'am. She said, well, why aren't you freaking out? I said, because the more you freak out, the harder this bird will squeeze. They have the strength of 5 grown men. So technically, she will rip these 2 fingers straight through and almost off if I start to move. So the best thing to do is give her something that she wants more than your fingers.
I think that was in your book. There was a story about that in
Yeah.
your book that I'd forgotten. I saw your film, The Falconer, with the One Earth Film Festival. Jody says fascinating. Let's see. What else do I have here? Oh, do your guests stay overnight on Dippy's Dream, and where do they stay?
They camp out. You can camp out for as long as, if you want to stay for a month, you can camp out for a month. You bring your tent. I have a few sheds, a little things that we built, little shelters and stuff. You can actually camp. I explain to people you're camping. You're not glamping. This isn't a hotel that you coffee every. No. You're actually camping. So when you want to really get back to nature, it's a natural spring. Now we do have a place where you can go, you can shower, use something like that, especially dietary needs or something, all that type of stuff. That's not an issue. But for the most part, it's all about getting back to nature, getting back out in a tent, sleeping bag. You got the fire pit out front. The whole thing is all about getting away. Turn the cell phone off. Turn the little Wi-Fi out. Cut all that. It's really about reconnecting, getting out, growing your own food. Like in the spring, you got fresh vegetables, there's chickens and everything. So in the morning, get up, make you fresh eggs. You find where the chickens lay the eggs, fresh eggs. So that's what it's about. That's why I say it's a human sanctuary with animals.
About how many people do you think are able to come or do come each year?
Well, I have 7 acres. So at any given time, you basically can fit, which is the equivalent to 7 football fields. So you can imagine tents. So, or however a person want to do it, if you need a certain amount of space, we have certain cages and everything that's built. So if you have your own animal, if you have to bring your dog with you, so we have a place where you can lock your dog up at, so it doesn't get involved with any of the other animals, stuff like that. So it's really all up on the person. How long can you get away for? How long do you want to stay for? It's all up to you. You're not bothering me. You're 3 acres down from me. So you're not bothering me. Anything you need, we have little walkie-talkies and stuff. So everybody takes a walkie-talkie. So if you're down there, if you need something or anything, and remember, you're in the woods. So there's snakes and mosquitoes and, whatever's in the woods is in the woods here. The only difference is you're fenced in. So as far as predator wise, you don't have to worry about that. And they know that the dogs are on the property and the dogs love people. they just won't mess with it. They won't allow anything else to be on the property that's not supposed to be here.
So you actually opened Dippy's Dream when? I can't remember when the book ended, because that's where you were, you had just got
Maybe
the
a
property.
year and a half ago, going on 2
Oh, so
years
it's
now.
really
I think we have
still very new. Yeah.
opened it up like a year and a half ago or something, where we started having people to actually come down.
Okay, somebody asked when raptors molt and how long before the new feathers are come back in.
Feed them up. Usually around February, March is when you're putting your bird up, because the leaves and stuff are starting to grow back on the trees. So March, April, usually the time your bird starts to molt and everything. So that's when you actually feed your bird more in the spring and summertime than you do in the fall and winter, because you're hunting them in the fall and winter. In the spring and summer, you're feeding them up so much because you want their molt to come in beautifully. So the heavier that bird is, the better that molt to come in. And then we have what's called Vitaheart that you put on their food that helps it also.
And then do you release them in the spring or no?
No, depending on the bird. Now, if you trap a bird, say you trap the bird September, that February, I would take that bird like the end of February on a hunt. Once he made the kill, I would get in my car and leave him. That's a wild bird again. So now he's made it through that first winter. I don't even want to go. I know you're fed up. I know your chances of survival and reproducing and keeping the population in check is better now. I'm gone.
What kind of bird is Agnes? She's a Harris's hawk. I know it's 8 o'clock, so we've got kind of a hard stop. I've just got all of these wonderful, Rodney, you're a very compassionate human being, and I have lots and lots of those kinds of comments. So I think, Rodney, is there anything else that I do want you to tell one last story from the book.
Yes, ma'am.
The eagle that was high on the fence that you had to save, to rescue. It's a great story.
Just before that eaglet got caught on the rail and my mom had passed the year before, we had named that eaglet after my mother. On the anniversary of her death, my son didn't have to work that day, but he ended up going to work. He called me and he said, hey, dad, it's an eagle caught in the fence up here at the job. I said, are you sure it's an eagle? He said, Dad, I'm telling you, it's an eagle. I jumped in the car because I was maybe 10 minutes away or something, jumped in the car, pulled up. Sure enough, it turned out to be the female eaglet that we had named after my mom a few months earlier. Well, she had landed on the top of the railing, and the way the railing was made, her talons slid down and her head went between the bars and she was stuck. And she was holding on with her talons so she couldn't push herself up. So when I got there, behind that was like a 25, 30-foot drop. There was this long, narrow walkway thing. So I had to basically scale all the way around it, step by step by step. So I took my belt off so I wouldn't fall and locked it around the pole. So if I did, at least I wouldn't fall back 30 feet and break my neck. Finally worked it enough where was able to get the eaglet loose. But where I was, it was too far to try to walk the bird back down to examine it. So I was telling my son, well, what I'm gonna have to do is let her go from here. If she's too injured to fly, she'll land down in the grass area at least, and then we'll be able to get her the proper help that she needs then. So I told him, I said, now you gotta be ready because I'm about to let her go. And when I let her go, she took off flying. My son started crying because that was the bird that was named after his grandmother. Shortly after that, he called me saying, Dad, I want my wings now. I want to be a falconer. So he's now 4th year general, I believe. So one more year, he'll be a master falconer.
That was one of the questions that I had neglected to ask you. There was a question, where is he in the process? Okay. Well, I want to thank you for all your time, and thank you, Agnes, for making an appearance and sharing yourself. Oh, she's so beautiful.
Thank you. One wing. There you go.